Hello and welcome again to my channel, Dr. Teacher Mom. Today I will be taking you through the question, how can I use rhetorical questions effectively? That is something that I find my students struggle a lot with, using rhetorical questions effectively to engage the audience, to get the audience on their side, and also to ensure that their writing is imaginative and interesting. So the objectives today, so at the end of the lesson, you should be able to explain what makes an effective rhetorical question. You should also be able to justify your own vocabulary choices by explaining why you have chosen these rhetorical questions. Now, on a sheet, I want you to write down all the persuasive devices or techniques that you know. We're going to be looking at a charity advert, and I want you to go through the charity advert and annotate any persuasive techniques that you know and that you have used in the past. Our main question is, what is a rhetorical question? We know that a rhetorical question engages the reader. We know that a rhetorical question does not expect the reader to answer it. This is because the writer will already have put the answer within their writing. So the writer is the one who's going to answer this rhetorical question. Why do we use rhetorical questions? So these are some questions that throughout this tutorial you will find the answers to. Okay, so this is the advert that we're looking at. It's an advert from Shelter, and it starts with a statistic. So that's a persuasive device. So 75,000 of our children will wake up homeless on Christmas morning. So that is a factual device. Yes, we are outraged too. And that sentence employs an emotional appeal. So emotive language. So right there from the title, you can see two important devices. I want you to read the rest of this leaflet. Yeah, have you read it? Okay, I will continue to read. You won't see them on the street. They're hidden away, often in places like hostels and B&Bs, and it's destroying their health and their futures. So a lot of emotive words used, like hidden, destroying. We saw a situation like this when we set up in 1966, another factual detail, but this is 2012, and we're asking everyone who shares our outrage to help us. Our helpline will be open over Christmas, and one call can be enough to find a child a home. But as the recession bites deeper, we're struggling to meet demand. So that is our advert that has a lot of emotional appeal, which is basically requiring the reader to act. What makes a rhetorical question an effective question? Right, so I've put a GCSE target grade there, but what makes an effective rhetorical question? An effective rhetorical question, as I've said before, is about getting the reader on side, speaking to your reader, and using emotive language. So that's the two things, right? Now, I've given you 3 rhetorical questions, and I want you to look at them and see which one is the most effective. Remember, they need to be clear, they need to be confidently communicating to the audience. So the first one says, do you want to change lives? Do we think that is very effective? Second one, do you want to stop children suffering and make them feel happy, loved, and protected? Number 3, Do you want to support shelter? So just really thinking about which one of these are most effective. Now I've color coded them. So I've done a rag color coding, a red, an amber, a green, or green would be the most effective, or amber would be in the middle, and or red would be the weakest. So the weakest one is, do you want to support shelter? And that is a yes or no answer really. So we're already finding out a don't of rhetorical questions, or don't give the reader a yes or no response. We want something that will resonate with them emotionally, so that they will be more on side. It will be used as a persuasive technique. So the second one, do you want to change lives? Notice that here my vocabulary is getting more developed, more detailed. I've used that word change and lives to talk about the impact that the reader will have if they help shelter. And then our most effective one, do you want to stop children suffering and make them feel happy, loved, and protected? As you can note, within this rhetorical question, I'm using a lot of different persuasive devices. So I'm using my triples or rule of threes by saying happy, loved, and protected. I'm also using emotional appeal. So the word suffering already will strike a chord to the reader, because of course, the response is going to be, of course, I do not want children to suffer. I want them to feel happy. I want them to feel loved, and I want them to feel protected. So you're already answering the questions as the writer and getting that emotional support from the reader. And that is the key to writing an effective rhetorical question. So I want you to look at your rhetorical question again, because you are going to now write your rhetorical question. After you've written it, these are the improvements that I want you to put in. So you'll have to do some work for me. So if I go back to the questions, the green rhetorical question that we said was the best one, you're using that as a model now to write your own rhetorical question. I'll give you some time to do that. Okay, so you should have written your own rhetorical question, and I want you to use these questions to improve them. How do you want your audience to feel? Have you made your audience feel this way? Use your thesaurus as well to up-level your vocabulary. So change any simple words to more sophisticated ones. And I've given you a challenge and also an extension. So your challenge is to use an alliteration, a triple, so a rule of threes, as I did before when I said, do you want your children, happy, loved, protected? These are the words that we wanted them to feel, and we use them, the emotions that we wanted them to feel. So you're going to put that in a triple or a metaphor in your question, and your extension is to explain how you have improved your question. So of course you're going to be thinking about how you have explained that question. So when we're writing rhetorical question, just to recap, we are going to choose words that make our audience think and feel, right? So create that emotional response, and that is one of the ways to be effective in our rhetorical question. We are also going to really think about this emotional appeal, and I've given an example of this. So we have a thought process when we're writing our rhetorical questions. This is an example. Do you want to stop innocent children suffering and make them feel happy, loved, and protected? And the thought process was, Shelter wants people to give money to them, so I want my audience to feel sorry for the children and want to help. I have used the word suffering because children are homeless and maybe cold and hungry. I have used the adjective innocent because I want my audience to know the children aren't to be blamed. Okay, so they're innocent. I have used a triple of positive words to encourage my audience to help. Now, I have left this PDF for you, this file as a PDF. You can download it and go through this tutorial in your own time. So this is in the description box below. So your challenge is to write a paragraph using this new advert from the RSPCA, and you're going to think about the words that you could use to persuade people to give money to the RSPCA. You're going to create your rhetorical question to do this. I've also left a checkbox that you can also use to help you. After you've finished all of this, there's a reflection exercise that I would also want you to focus on as a way to really think about our objective for this tutorial. The objectives, again, were to be able to explain what makes an effective rhetorical question. I hope you have achieved that. I hope I've explained it clearly to enable you to do that. And then you were also asked to justify your own vocabulary choices by explaining why you have chosen them. So that is a reflection task. Thanks for joining me, and please, if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Please give a comment below on what you would like me to do next in my next tutorial or my next video. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. Bye.